Do you find writing captions for your social media posts tricky? Do you know what you want to say but get all in a muddle when you start to write? Or maybe you don't even get that far and you just end up staring at a blank screen. Well, if that is the case, then I have good news for you, because this is the episode that you need to listen to. Because today I am going to break down the simple steps to writing better social media captions so that you can get the job done and get on with your day. Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to Show Up and Be Heard, the podcast that exists to help women like you simplify your business and your life so that you can stop feeling so overwhelmed. I'm your host, Becci McAvoy, owner and founder of Be Heard Socials, and I am an award-winning social media marketer and an international speaker who specialises in content strategy and organic growth on social media. If you want to cut through the noise and BS and get practical, actionable advice tailored specifically to make social media marketing accessible and easy to understand, or if you want to be part of a supportive community where women entrepreneurs can feel connected and inspired to achieve their dreams, then keep listening, because you are in the right place. To be the first to find out when new episodes go live and to get more tips like the ones you hear in this podcast, make sure you join my email community through the link in the show notes. Right then, let's get started with this week's episode. Right, writing social media captions, where to start and how to make them better. Well, I am starting with some really good news. Social media posts, the captions of them can be broken into three really simple sections. There are three components of a good social media post or a good social media caption. The first one is the headline to grab your reader's attention. The second one is the body copy, broken into short sentences to make it easier to read. And the final one is the call to action, telling your reader what to do next. And you might see the call to action being referred to as a CTA. And that just means call to action. So let's take a look at each of those in a bit more detail. And I'm going to start with the call to action. Now, you might be wondering why I'm starting with the call to action when it's the last thing that I listed on the list above. Well, there is a very, very good reason for that. You see, most business owners make the mistake of writing a post, then shoving a call to action at the end as an afterthought. The problem with this is that the call to action is sometimes forgotten, or it jars with the rest of the copy, or, and this one is really common, it competes with other call to actions in the post. So here's what you need to do if you want to write a better social media caption. You need to write your call to action first. Before you've written any of the rest of the caption, you need to start with your call to action. Because when you write the call to action first, it makes you more intentional about your post. You are clear about the action you want the reader to take, and it helps you to focus on the rest of your post as well. So it helps you make sure that the rest of the caption you write is all gearing towards the goal of the post, which is the call to action. So the very, very simple rule to remember: one post, one call to action. It does take practice, but give it a try, because it makes such a difference. You don't want to confuse people. And I see lots of people get to the end of the post and go like, comment, share, and it asks you to do all of the things. But you don't want to do that. You want to ask them to do one thing. So when you are starting your caption, think about the purpose of your post. Why are you putting it out there? What do you want the person to do? Do you want them to engage with it? And you can come back to listen to the episode on the boss framework of how to structure your post if you want to. I will put the link in the show notes. But what do you want them to do? Do you want them to engage with it? Then you need to use a call to action that asks a question or tells them to save it or asks them to share it or whatever it might be. Do you want them, is it a sales post? Do you want them to buy something or do something? They don't have to buy something, but do you want them to download one of your lead magnets or listen to your podcast or join your email list? Then it will be link in bio, or maybe you've got a chatbot set up like ManyChat where you ask them to comment and it sends them a link, but ultimately you're trying to get them to a link. So yeah, you need to think about what you want them to do, and then you need to ask them to only do one thing. This also really helps when you think about the boss framework of getting less frustrated with your posts. When you're putting sales posts out there, the call to action is link in bio or tap the link below or comment this word below and I'll send you the link or whatever it might be. the aim of that post isn't to get people to engage with it. So if people aren't liking and commenting on it or sharing it, that wasn't the aim of the post. The aim of the post was to get them to ultimately click a link, however they got to the point of clicking that link. If you are asking them to save it, don't get frustrated that they haven't liked or shared it, because that wasn't the aim of your post. So it's a really, really good thing to start with, because like I said, it helps you write the rest of the caption towards that thing. So if you're asking people to comment and your call to action is a question, it helps your caption flow into that. So the first component of your caption, which was the last thing that I listed, but the first thing that I'm starting with, is the call to action, also known as a CTA, and you should start with that. One post, one call to action. Like I said, it takes practice, but give it a try. Okay, so let's talk about the next part of writing better captions. And this bit is about the headline. So the first thing that I listed above, and sometimes this is known as the hook, to hook people in. So when social media users are scrolling through their feeds, they only see the first 2 or 3 lines of a post before they have to press see more and before they have to stop and actually read the post. This means that those first few words need to really grab their attention and make them stop in their tracks. The best headlines create curiosity or provoke an emotional reaction, and they also offer a benefit to the reader. And that's why, like I said, sometimes it's known as the hook, because it hooks them in to want to know more. It makes them stop the scroll and it makes them read the rest of the caption. So, like I said, you want them to you want it to provoke an emotional reaction, or offer some kind of benefit to the reader, or tell them why they need to stop and read the rest of the caption and click on that see more, or go from your stories to actually see the rest of the post. So, for example, here are some examples: how to get your teenager off tech without them hating you. And so if anybody has teenagers who are always on screens or whatever it might be, but they know, it doesn't even have to be teenagers, actually, this can relate to my kids, that as soon as you say, can you come off for a bit, you get a barrage of whining and moaning and all that kind of stuff. So a great headline, if you've got a post that's helping with this problem: how to get your teenager off the tech without them hating you. Or it might be why doing something that your reader regularly doesn't work, and what you need to do instead. So you've called the person out and gone, if you do this, you need to stop, and because it doesn't work, and here's what you need to do instead. Or it might be 5 simple ways to do the thing that you want them, that they want to achieve, the problem they want to solve. 5 simple ways to do that. Or it might be 3 things, or 3 tips around a certain topic that actually work. And can you see the kind of language in there that's triggering that emotional reaction? You're saying these are things that actually work. So if you're sick of, like you see all of this advice out there and you've tried it, but it doesn't work, I've got 3 things here for you that actually work. Or things like 5 simple ways, like I said, you're saying that it's simple, and you're calling them out on something they actually want to achieve. And the other examples I gave, like why doing this thing doesn't work and what to do instead. You stop them, you trigger that kind of reaction, or they see the benefit in that and they go, oh, I'm going to check that out. Or like the first one, how to get your teenager or tween off of tech without them hating you. You're solving a problem for them because you're helping them with ways to get them off their tech, but you're also doing it in a way that you're saying is going to make them not hate you. If anybody can actually do that, that would be amazing. Please let me know. But you can see the way those kind of headlines work, and those kind of hooks work, because you stop them in their tracks and you make them want to read more. So that is your headline, or like I said, sometimes it is known as the hook. And the third part is the body copy. So the main text, the bit that comes after the headline or the hook, and the thing that comes before the call to action at the end. So the main post text, people often ask me whether long or short posts are best. And the answer is, and this isn't a cop-out, because I know I say this about a lot of things, there isn't any right answer. If you were one of my members, or if I was working with you, again, like I say a lot of the time, I would ask you 10 questions back to find out what would be the best fit. And ultimately, you need to test what works for you, so you can test different things. What I can tell you though is that people are more likely to read your post if it's formatted properly. So this is one of the things that you need to think about more than whether it's long or short. Make sure it's formatted properly. And by this, I mean it's written in short, simple sentences, no long words or jargon, and has a lot of paragraph breaks to create white space. So basically, the gaps in your text, the white space on the screen, so it's easier to digest, because reading on a screen, especially on a phone, is hard work for our eyes. So big chunks of text are really off-putting and they're really difficult to digest. Most people, I was going to say most people, and then I was thinking we'll make that all of us probably, skim read copy. So you need to make your key points stand out. So another great way to format is to use bullet point lists. You could use emojis for this, but you do need to think about screen readers and things like that with accessibility. But bullet points are quite a nice, simple way to make something stand out. And emojis are a way to make it pop a little bit when they're reading it and catch their attention. And you can also create subheadings with capital letters. And again, maybe using emojis in those subheadings with like the pointing down finger or whatever it might be, or an arrow or whatever it might be. So yeah, just think about the formatting, because that is honestly a huge part of it and can quickly put someone off. You could have a really short caption, but if you've written it all as one paragraph, it's just really difficult to digest when it's on a screen, which is where most people are looking at their social media. So yeah, try not to think right now about whether it's long or short, but think about the formatting. And white space, white space, white space is key. Those short sentences and breaking it up is really, really key. And like I said, most people, if not all of us, skim read. So make your key points stand out. So that was the third point that I wanted to talk about. But there's one other thing that was the third point that was in my list. But there's one other thing that I do want to chat about, because it's the way that writing social media posts differs from how we've ever been taught to write, like throughout school and throughout our life. Writing on social media is just different because of the nature of what social media is, and you need to be natural. So when I speak to lots of small business owners, just like you, they often say that they struggle to sound natural when they write, and this might be something that you find really difficult too. So this little trick will really, really help. When you're writing your social media content, imagine that you are talking to just one person. What would you say to your ideal client if they were standing in front of you? There are tools that you can do this if you want to do voice recordings and get it to transcribe. You could basically do the voice recording and get it to transcribe it into text for you. So I've used Otter AI for this before, but there's tons of other things that you can do it on. And then you can copy and paste that transcript and use all the tips that I've just said above to make that into your caption. You might feel a little bit silly at first, but it's a great way to listen out for the words and the phrases that you use the most, which can be quite difficult when you're writing it. So yeah, if you voice note it first and then transcribe it, it puts it in more natural text. Now you will need to edit this slightly, but it's got most of that text there for you. So it's a really quick and easy way to do that. One other thing that I always do once my final caption is written is I read it out loud to myself, because this really helps me make sure it's written exactly how I'd say it, in my tone of voice and my brand tone of voice, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're just two simple tips that you can do to help you sound more natural on social media, because when you think about the way that you consume social media, and you when you're reading on social media, you don't want to read, it's a social media, you don't want to read things in proper English. Is that the right thing to say? But basically the way we've always been taught to write. So those two tips will really help with that. You can record yourself, and that takes away a lot of the pressure from writing the text. You can just copy and paste a transcript and then edit it to make a little bit more sense, or flow a little bit better. Then when it's written, read it out loud to yourself to make sure it sounds exactly how you would say it, and it's in the tone of voice that you want to use. So yeah, just going back over those 3 parts of the post again. You've got the headline, the body copy, and the call to action. So the headline grabs your reader's attention. The body copy gets broken down into short sentences with white space to make it easier to read. And the call to action that you start with tells your reader what you want them to do next, what you want them to do with your post. And remember, one post, one call to action. So I really, really, really hope that has been helpful. It's been quite a short and sweet episode today, but that is brilliant because there's it doesn't need to be long episodes. That's the point of these episodes. If you are ready to put some of this into practice, and you just to say you want to save yourself some time, you now know how to write better social media captions. I'm going to put the link in my show notes to 20 free content ideas. So you can take the content ideas, you can save yourself the time on having to think about what to post, and you can write captions for those that relate to your business. I'd really, really, really love to know if you would do this. I say this on almost, if not all of the episodes. If you do put any of this into action or you found it helpful, please drop me a message, share it with someone else who might find it useful, and share it on your socials that you've listened to it, because it's a great way to show up and be heard out to more people, which I would really, really love. I'd love to help more people. And like I said, I love to know when I have helped you. So please drop me a message if you have put any of this into action or if you have found it useful. Thank you so much for listening to Show Up and Be Heard, but please don't go without telling me your name. I genuinely love meeting new people and making new connections. So if you don't already, I'd love it if you'd come find me on Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook and drop me a message to say hello and let me know what you thought of the episode. The link to all my socials are in the show notes. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode or found it useful, then I'd really appreciate it if you could take just a few minutes to give it a review on whatever platform you are listening on, because every one I get really does make me do a little squeal and a big happy dance. Finally, more than anything else, please always remember, realizing that you're not actually meant to do this stuff alone is the first step to making it easier. So I'll see you next time.